Is going on? You're checking out for Monday night of April 13th, 2020, and all new, the RCWR show. Lee Sanders here. What is going on? Appreciate those of you that's checking out the show. As always, be it live or on demand and on the downloads. Now, heads up for those of you that are checking out the webcast version of the show. I don't want you guys freaking out and going, where's Lee? I can't see Lee. We're keeping it simple tonight with just the live stream audio because I don't know how it was in your respected neck of the woods, but over here in the DC metropolitan area, we were dealing with severe winds, thunderstorms, whole 9 yards, trees getting knocked down left and right all throughout the night. It began a little bit after 2 in the morning. And really, it did not let up until about, I would say, a little after 3 this afternoon. So sadly, as a result of that, a lot of areas, including where I am, a lot of power line issues was coming about. So true story, there actually was for a couple of hours, power was actually out here. And Verizon is actually doing some work, I think as we speak, but we were definitely having some issues with the service, not just us, but many of the residents in the area here. So I'm keeping it simple tonight, and I'm actually streaming the show using my cell phone as a hotspot for tonight. So hopefully when it's all said and done and we go into the next day, all this shit will be squashed. I think by Wednesday, we should be good to go. You guys will definitely be able to see me live in the flesh again and everything. So, but hey, man, it's all good. The important thing is we got the consistency in the shows coming in, because I know we had a little bit of a rocky 2 weeks there as I'm trying to adjust to my new schedule, working 2 jobs now and everything. Speaking of working 2 jobs, I'm still just a couple of hours removed from the second job, and I'm actually going to be going in to work remotely for the first job in the morning. So as much as I'd like to do a 2-hour show tonight, we're definitely going to do our best to try to wrap this up. I think last week, what did we do for last Monday, guys? I think we did about an hour and 15 minutes. So if I can pretty much do that again tonight, that'll be great. And wherever we're not able to dive into, we can definitely talk about it on Wednesday's show. Hope you guys' weekend was fantastic. Hope that your Easter, despite the fact you were not able to maybe spend that time for Easter physically with your loved ones, hopefully in some shape or form, you were able to enjoy Easter, even if it was remotely doing Google Hangouts, Skype, you name it, Zoom. Hopefully you were able to enjoy that holiday, as a lot of places were closed in observance of the Easter holiday. Raw tonight, I gotta tell you, Raw tonight, I actually liked it. I actually had really no problems with Raw for this week, but hey, I definitely want to pick you guys' brains and want to find out what y'all thought about Raw tonight. So as always, we do every single Monday night, we got a poll that's up on Twitter and on YouTube. Take your pick. If you got both, just pick one. That's really just making sure for those that don't have Twitter, they got their way of voicing their opinion. Go on Twitter, or if you're on YouTube right now, you can head on over to youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the communities tab and cast your vote, asking you guys, what did you think about tonight's Raw? Right now, looking at the Twitter poll, a bit early, but right now I am seeing that 40% of you are giving Raw a thumbs down. Meanwhile, 60% of you are giving the show a thumbs up. Meanwhile, still very early, because I put it up on YouTube not that long ago. I don't even think the YouTube community poll has been up for 5 minutes, but just to peek my head in there and see what's going on. Early votes still coming in on YouTube, but I'm seeing 100% of the votes are giving it a thumbs down. Meanwhile, just to kind of revisit SmackDown from last week for the YouTube community poll, we did see that go up more for those of you that ended up catching it on demand. I see that for SmackDown last week, you guys went ahead, again, YouTube, 35% of you gave it a thumbs up. Meanwhile, 65% of you gave it a thumbs down. We'll take a look one more time later on in the show, seeing what you guys had thought about Raw one more time on YouTube and on Twitter. But, I thought the action tonight was pretty good. I was actually counting how many matches we had got for tonight's Raw. And I'm seeing, according to the notes that I had took here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm seeing 9 matches. 9 matches that we got for Raw this week. Now, when you stop and think, last week's Raw gave us 10 matches. Go back if you don't believe me. Last week gave us 10 matches. Tonight, we got 9 matches. So I commend WWE under the circumstances for trying to do their very best to give us the biggest bang for our value and watch time for those 3 hours tonight. So as we all saw, as Raw was closing now, Seth Rollins took a lashing there, gave the new champion Drew McIntyre an ass whooping. So it seems that Drew McIntyre's next big feud is going to be coming to him in the form of the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. Now, I know some people looked at that were watching Raw tonight, by the way. Shout out to those of you I was briefly interacting with there. I mainly was kicking back tonight. I just wanted to try to enjoy the show for what it was worth. I know some people are moaning and groaning over the fact that, oh man, fuck Seth Rollins. But look at it from this standpoint. Really try to look at it from this standpoint. This is about trying to really establish Drew McIntyre as a champion. Now, some people may say, well, goddamn, he just got a really good rub-off from Brock Lesnar. And for what it's worth, he got a little bit of a rub from the Big Show. And notice, by the way, with regards to the Big Show, we were on this show last week, and a lot of people were under the impression Big Show was going the heel route again and everything. And remember what I had said on the show last week? I said, no, I don't think Big Show was flipping it. I believe that just in storyline, Big Show, and I said, word for word, Big Show was just trying to smarten Drew McIntyre up. He was trying to tough him up as a champion, basically let him know the hunt is on and you are the prey. That's all Big Show was trying to do. And sure enough, in a recent interview, that's exactly what Big Show had said, that, he wasn't going heel or anything like that. It was just about helping further along Drew McIntyre there. So, but for what it was worth, Drew got the rub off from Brock Lesnar. He gets the rub off from the Big Show. And now you've got him in this program against Seth Rollins, where honestly for me, it's rather simple. It's just about really trying to establish Drew McIntyre. I gotta tell you, I would be quite shocked if it was quite the opposite and Seth Rollins gets the championship off of Drew. I just don't see that happening. I just don't. All the chances that Seth Rollins has been given over the years. Now, I'm not saying that as far as Seth Rollins being a future champion goes, he's definitely got a few more championship runs in him. Definitely. I don't think he's going to be tying Triple H or Ric Flair or Cena or anything like that. But he's definitely got a couple of more championship reigns in him, without a shadow of doubt. If you heard me smacking my hands there, that's because I just smacked successfully a big old giant mosquito. Good God almighty. It's that time of the year, especially with all the rain we've been dealing with, man. The mosquitoes, they are out in full effect here, man. So make sure you got that bug spray going. But I think it's going to be an interesting program. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how Drew and Seth Rollins lock up this go round. The way it's looking right now, we're probably going to be seeing that as early as Money in the Bank. And, I don't really have a problem with that right now. And for those of you that are moaning and groaning over Seth Rollins, let me pose to you all this question right now. Now that it appears for the foreseeable future, at least till this pandemic is over and Brock Lesnar is out of the equation, for the Raw side of things, who else? Who else on Raw can easily slide in there and be the main antagonist to Drew McIntyre as a face champion right now? Your roster is pretty thin, sadly. Now, some of you guys may jump and say, well, shit, what about Orton? What's going on with Orton? How about Orton? Well, first things first, and that's a bit of a weird position that we're kind of finding ourselves in right now. You notice, past 2 weeks now, ever since WrestleMania went down, we have not seen Edge, nor have we seen Randy Orton. So, and not for nothing, but I'm not complaining. I commend WWE for how they're handling that right now. Quite honestly, I miss those feuds back in the day where when two men beat the holy living hell out of each other, a couple of weeks of programming would go by before you'd see one of them resurface again. So it's kind of cool when you take a step back and you think about it, that WWE, to their advantage with this pandemic, is now, okay, well, what's the race? And that's the question that we all as fans need to be saying to ourselves. What's the race to get this said superstar back on TV? What's the rush? Seriously. You could tell a story. You could sell that angle for what it's worth. Sell the bruises that they both had sustained and everything. So, as much as I would love to see a guy like Randy Orton slide right in there and give Drew McIntyre a run for his money, and make no mistake about it, it's gonna happen down the road. It will happen. Just as far as, boom, that instant gratification right now that some of you all may be looking for, no. Not when you had Orton and Edge doing their thing. Nah, you just let that be. So, it's really limited right now. You don't have Orton. You don't have Lesnar. You're just going down the list there, again, for the Raw side of things. You really don't have anything else. In a perfect world, and without any controversy, maybe in a different light, you probably could have had, oh God, who's the guy? Lars Sullivan. You probably could have had him maybe do a program with Drew McIntyre. But, kind of shorthanded as it is, so they got to go with Rollins. Rollins is the man right now. So I know some of you guys may not like that, but hopefully the way I just broke it down there, you guys can at least understand why it's going in that direction right now. And it's an interesting position that the company is in. But I will say this: I love how they did revisionist history with Drew McIntyre and Andrade to pretty much open up Raw and setting up the main event for the night between Andrade and McIntyre, basically champion versus champion, world champion versus the United States champion. That was actually pretty smooth how they had worked that out. Talking about one of the last times that McIntyre Andrade locked it up, it was in NXT. It was for the title. Andrade took that bad boy, and freaking McIntyre, he tore his arm. He was out for 6 months. That was nice how they did the whole revisionist history there, setting up that main event match for Raw tonight between the two. I did like that little bit of a touch right there. I tell you though, something that I'm not really a fan of is the very poor broken English of Andrade. I'm not feeling that. I really am not. You would love to believe that during these times, when they're not performing in front of a live crowd, just go on ahead. If there was ever a time and you've got millions of people watching the product from home, why not go on ahead and let these stars speak 100% their native language, put up some English captioning. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't need a translator. We do not need Zelina Vega to translate for Andrade or anybody else for that matter. Let them speak their native language, and you got plenty of time to have the English captioning pop up on the screen. If you want to put an English voice actor in there, you guys know how much of a big advocate I've been of that for several years now, and this is the perfect opportunity where WWE could definitely exploit something like that to their advantage. But Andrade, it was really rough listening to him. It really, really was rough. I prefer it if he doesn't say anything. He could just keep standing there, nodding his head, smiling, have that arrogant, smug look on his face. I'm good with that. Just keep giving me that. But don't have him talk any English. No bueno, no bueno, no bueno whatsoever. McIntyre picking up the W in that main event match against Andrade, and we pretty much had told you how he pretty much wasn't able to celebrate that long because Seth Rollins did attack him pretty much from out of nowhere. We also had a couple of Money in the Bank qualifying matches here, guys. First up, we had Asuka defeating Ruby Riott. I was so heartbroken for Ruby Riott. I was, because she hasn't been back to the Raw brand that long. And as far as, okay, some milestone victories here. Okay, we're talking Money in the Bank. Okay, sure, Ruby Riott. Surely she's got this. And instead it went to Asuka. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love both girls. I've got a lot of respect for both of them tremendously. But Ruby, out for a minute, the surgeries that she had. Yeah, I really thought that tonight was going to be Ruby's moment. You know, it's okay if she doesn't win the whole thing, but for her to go into the Money in the Bank ladder match, I thought for sure this was going to be her, but I cannot deny with what my girl Asuka has been doing these past couple of weeks, she's really, really been turning it up big time. I just love everything that's going on with her character, man. Just the trash talking that she's constantly doing and everything. I'm loving that. I'm loving that to the extreme. But for me, I'm not sure how many of you all are Ruby Riott fans as well, but I thought for sure Ruby was going to be getting it. Now, it's still early for Ruby. Maybe Ruby can get other opportunities, as they come. I mean, your guess is as good as mine why she did not advance in this Money in the Bank qualifying matchup. But I got to give my hats off to both girls because they put on a very damn good, entertaining matchup. This was actually one of my favorites from Raw tonight. And I sincerely mean that. That's not me being biased in any type of way. I can honestly just take a couple of steps back and I can just look at the entire card as I'm looking at the entire card right now. And as far as 2, maybe possibly 3 matches that jump out to me the most, that I would say if you didn't watch Raw, go out of your way, check out Asuka, Ruby Riott tonight is at the very top of the list. I would recommend you guys check out. Another Money in the Bank qualifying match that we had got bit of confusion with this matchup as well, and I'll explain in just a hot second here. But another Money in the Bank qualifying match, Shayna Baszler was in action as she took on Sarah Logan. Now, Sarah Logan, you just hear the opponent and you're just going, she doesn't have a chance. Like, who are we kidding? But the way this match ended was where you're kind of left scratching your head wondering what exactly is going on, because Shayna, she is putting a hurting on Sarah Logan, and the match wasn't even that long. I think maybe the match, if we were lucky, maybe the match went about 2 minutes. Don't quote me on that, but it felt as though it was about 2 minutes at most. Referee at one point, he's checking in on Logan, trying to see if she might be able to continue, and he actually holds off Shayna Baszler from continuing her assault on Logan. And as the ref is trying to check up on Logan, Baszler just comes up basically from behind the referee while Sarah Logan is laid out on her stomach, and she's trying to pick herself up. Sarah Logan, she's trying to do a bit of a push-up, basically, try to get herself up. And Baszler is coming from behind the ref and behind Logan, and she pretty much stomps the hell out of Sarah Logan's right arm. And basically the way Sarah Logan had her right arm, as it was pretty much in a push-up position. Basically, she was trying to push herself up. Baszler comes in and right around the elbow area, just pretty much. And so you could just picture that visually and go, oh man, that's brutal. That's ugly. Yeah, everything it was meant to. And Logan selling the hell out of it. And we didn't hear a bell ring as far as, okay, disqualification, that's it. We just hear Sarah Logan screaming like a banshee. Shayna Baszler rolls out of the ring. She's throwing a couple of chairs all over the place. And keep in mind, I forgot who it was that interviewed her, but there was someone that asked her thoughts about what Ronda Rousey had said. And we talked about this last week, but the comments have a lot of people triggered, especially because of Ronda Rousey's follow-up comments on social media, which really had drove a few people over the edge. And I guess I'll tell you what, let's finish this and then we can try to talk about that a little bit more there. But Shayna does that, and so you're going, okay, so what the hell just happened? And you're kind of under the impression Shayna Baszler picked up the W because Sarah Logan was unable to continue in the match, right? Well, that's what you would think, but then about a segment after that, we hear from Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, Jerry Lawler was back, his first time back in many weeks. They basically revealed that the referee DQ'd Shayna Baszler for her antics in the ring. So it's actually Sarah Logan that advanced to Money in the Bank and not Shayna Baszler. So you're going, okay, that's a little confusing. Okay, whatever. Couple of segments go by again, and Tom Phillips and the gang, they're talking about, matter of fact, I think they were talking about the next Money in the Bank match. Let me just look at my notes real quick here. And yeah, they were talking about the next Money in the Bank qualifying match, which was Kairi Sane taking on Nia Jax. I'll talk about that one in a hot second. But as they were setting up the introductions for Sane and Nia Jax, they talked about how Shayna Baszler broke Sarah Logan's arm. Shayna Baszler advances to Money in the Bank. And so if you're keeping track of everything that I just said, wait a minute, WWE, a little bit confused. What exactly happened here? Because on the one hand, you're saying that Shayna Baszler, because of what she did to Sarah Logan advanced. But then a couple of segments later, you're saying Shayna Baszler broke Sarah Logan's arm and she advanced. Okay, mixed signals here. What's going on? I don't fault Tom Phillips in them. I think it's just a simple case of, I'd like to say maybe it was a case where the guys had pulled a Houdini trick and, you know, they're doing the commentating for one match, and if you're kind of looking in the background, you're looking for them, you don't see them, and you're going, okay, maybe they're doing their thing in the hotel again, and they're adding their vocals to that particular match / segment as it's playing out. But that wasn't even the case at all, guys. I mean, we got Phillips and them, from what I was able to see, they were there providing commentating for the entire night. Everything seemed to sync up with all the action that was going on inside the ring. Many times I was looking at Jerry and them, and I was looking for body language to match up with what they were calling in the ring, and many times it was matching up. So I'd love to be here and say, during this match, they were actually gone, but you could hear their commentating in spirit. But that wasn't the case at all. So a little bit confused. Hopefully by the time we get to NXT and SmackDown of this week, that'll be more straightened out and we'll know definitively what the hell is going on there. But I wish I could be here tonight and say to you guys, well, this person's in Money in the Bank, but they confused us here. Go back. I'm sure by the time it lands on Hulu and whatever other platforms that they've got arrangements with, they'll probably have cleaned it up even more. But tonight, very confusing. We told you guys there was another Money in the Bank qualifying matchup. Kari Sane was in action. She lost to Nia Jax. So if you're keeping track so far, we've got Asuka for the women's, that is, for the women's Money in the Bank. We've got Asuka. We were told Sarah Logan, but then Shayna, so that's a little confusion right there. And then we have Kari Sane. Next week, we've got some first-time evers for Monday Night Raw as far as Money in the Bank qualifying matches goes. Check this out. Next week, we've got Murphy taking on 619 Rey Mysterio. Aleister Black will be taking on Austin Theory. And Apollo Crews will be taking on Vontavious Porter, MVP. Those are 3 first-time ever matches, and they all happen to be Money in the Bank qualifying matches. Again, those are going to be going down on next week's Raw. Actually looking forward to those matches. All of them. I'm looking forward to all of them. One thing though, you know, going back one more time to Seth Rollins, I've yet to see a interviewer ask him, so what's going on with Murphy? What's going on with AOP? Are they still part of your Messiah stable? Are you now flying solo? And it's been weird these past couple of weeks not really hearing the commentators bring that up. I mean, you would have thought that you would have seen them at WrestleMania, but they were not in Seth's corner in any fashion. So we've got a little bit of a mystery that's hanging in the air. And I sure would love to know what exactly is going on with that Messiah stable. So I'm hoping that come next week, we're going to start to get some answers and find out, you know, what is going on there. You're kind of under the impression that it's no more, but when you have something just dangling in the wind, it's better to address it, I always say. So if it's a case where he's now just flying solo, he feels that they didn't believe in him, they really weren't following the cause, they didn't truly believe in the cause, they weren't really willing to make the sacrifices necessary, however they need to spin it. Just spin it however you need to spin it so that it's no longer there on the minds of fans wondering what's going on. Again, hopefully next week they'll tackle that. See, a couple of more matches that we had tonight. I'm running through all these matches pretty good here. Somebody we hadn't seen in a good minute, Akira Tozawa, losing effort to Austin Theory. We also saw, what's his name? Tatui? Mouse, losing effort to Angel Garza. If you've seen Mouse on NXT, you know what the young brother is capable of. He's definitely a entertaining young man in the ring. I know that's kind of hard to picture given how he was booked tonight, how little offense that he had, but he is one entertaining performer. I definitely will give him that. Lashley defeated No Way Jose rather easily, starting to see some more wrinkles in the storyline marriage between he and Lana, as Lana, kind of similar to what she did a couple of weeks ago, was trying to play quarterback once again, throwing out some audibles, some very loud audibles at that. This go around tonight, Lashley telling Lana to shut the hell up. And we almost saw No Way Jose pull an upset, kind of similar to another match that Lashley had a couple of weeks ago where he was a bit distracted, and we saw how that played out, but didn't happen this go around. Yeah, Fubi won, shame on you, but twice, nah. Lashley coming out on top by Lashley not really feeling Lana. So, yeah, I mean, no shit. We're getting to that point where Lana and Lashley, their union, it appears it's about to wrap up, and probably for the best. Probably for the best. I know a lot of fans weren't really feeling that. Viking Raiders defeated Rico Suave. No. Ricochet. Ricochet and Alexander. That actually was a pretty damn good tag team matchup. That's another match I would say go out of your way and check out. Rico and Alexander are continuing. I know they haven't been a new tag team that long, but they're continuing to impress me. I like them. I like how they're gelling together. And I'm telling you, those guys, it sucks what went down with the Revival. And we talked about the Revival on God, when did we talk about the Revival? I think we talked about the Revival leaving WWE. Didn't we do a Thursday show? Yeah, there was a Thursday show that we did last week. So I'm pretty sure we talked about the Revival exiting on that show. I could just only imagine how the Revival type of matches that they would have had they stuck around with Rico and Alexander. That would have been pretty entertaining there. But Rico and Alexander, not for nothing. Now, when you kind of stop and you think about how long exactly these two men have been a tag team, and you sync it up to pretty much when Revival, we're pretty much done. You could even kind of go a little bit before that, but when you just look at the pairing of Rico and Alexander, it's not really coincidence is the point that I'm trying to make to you guys. It's totally not all just a coincidence. But I like those guys. Those guys in Rico and Alexander, they are impressing the hell out of me. They really are. I think the only thing that's missing for those guys right now, they just need some type of a t-shirt. They need some type of a catchphrase. Something that they can get trending that represents them on social media. That's the only thing that they're missing right now. But they keep it up. I see no reason why before 2020 is out, they don't become a Raw Tag Team Champion. That's how impressed I am with them. They're really tearing it up. Gotta say, really tearing it up. And the performance that they had against the Viking Raiders, yeah, Viking Raiders really doing them an honor there. Even though they won, they still did them an honor in making them be pretty solid, relevant opponents, making them relevant, a relevant tag team. Those are the right words that I want to use there, because those are the correct words. Just looking at the rest of the card here, Austin Theory defeating Akira Tozawa. That pretty much, it is what it is with that one. We pretty much went through everything that had came about from Raw tonight. It wasn't even the intent there. But yeah, for me, you already know about my biggest takeaways now. But this was a good effort for WWE. I know everybody is a little bit rattled right now because there's that funny little article that's running around talking about how WWE was deemed a essential business, and people have got their panties in a bunch, and they are just, y'all should not really be surprised that this has happened. You really should not be, because how soon we forget that WWE for decades has been touring all up and down in North America. That's where the big bulk of their bread and butter has come from. Yeah, they're definitely getting a lot of love and recognition overseas, but they've spent many decades bread and butter in North America. And a lot of the stadiums that they've gone through, they've brought in a lot of revenue for a lot of cities. It's just a big old domino effect when it's all said and done. Let me put it to you this way. When you've been at it for as long as WWE has been, you don't do it for that long and not make friends in high places. So let's not bullshit around. Why people are shocked that this should be expected. This should be expected. And anybody that is shocked and all this, they don't know a thing or two about marketing and a couple of other things. But that's the nature of the beast. Doesn't mean that we have to like it. And I'm not defending WWE in any type of way, so don't take it that way. I'm just able to look at all sides and try to give it to you the best way I'm looking at it right now, which is for the most part neutral. But when WWE has been making their rounds all up and down North America for decades, you're bound to make some friends in some pretty high places. And I like how everything was kind of spun on WWE. Oh, well, we've pretty much left the ball in their court and let them decide whether or not, they wanted to continue to use the facilities here and, blah, blah, blah. And if they did decide they wanted to conduct business, then they're going at their own accord. And for those of you that's kind of hearing this for the very first time and you're going, what the hell is going on here? So the Orange County Mayor, Jerry Demings, he explained earlier today, he said originally WWE, they were not deemed an essential business, but with some conversation with the governor's office regarding the governor's order, they were deemed an essential business. And as far as a justification as to why, what criteria was used, only thing that was acknowledged was that WWE had a positive, and yeah, that's the other thing. WWE, they did have somebody test positive for COVID-19. And look, WWE is like a family, and they can pretty much self-policy themselves and everything. But as far as reason given why WWE is an essential business during this worldwide pandemic, but given the green light to go live tonight, do their show tonight and going forward, like I said, when you got friends in high places, come on. Especially when the biggest friend that you have on speed dial is the President of the United States. Nobody really wants to rock the feathers of somebody that knows people in high places. So, look, I don't like it. I'm sure many of you guys don't like it. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'm not going to, if you know, and I know, and everybody else knows that WWE is not an essential business, then why are we bitching about this on social media? Why are we coming off as if our panties are in a bunch? That's my whole deal. No, my friends, if there is a travesty that we all should be coming together of, and if there's ever a time where we really need to, hey, WWE, got a bone to pick with you, it's this. And I wish that more people were talking about this, and the fact that more people are not talking about this and are not putting WWE's head to the fire, heads, feet, hands to the fire, is beyond me. But we see all these celebrities, we see all these promotions, non-wrestling promotions, but a few wrestling promotions as well. But we see a lot of people that are coming together during these times. They're trying to do their part in raising money. And I got to tell you, my top two right now, I love Metallica Mondays. I'm not sure how many of you guys are aware of it, but while Raw is on every Monday night, Metallica, you can either go on Facebook or you can go on YouTube, but they stream a concert from their vault. They've got many concerts that they've done over the years in a vault, and basically they release these concerts for a lot of people. Very first time that they were able to see them. For others, yeah, I was there. Oh, it was a great night. Never hit DVD before. So Mondays, you get Metallica concerts, and while these concerts are on, they're trying to raise a boatload of money with their All Within My Hands foundation that Metallica has started up some years back. And they're raising that money and they're doing their part to help the world, try to help with the COVID-19 efforts and everything. Another person that I have a lot of respect for, appreciate, and I love what they're doing with regards to what's going on right now with this pandemic. Questlove from the Roots. I mean, the guy hops on a couple of times a week via, it looks like Periscope or Instagram, and he's playing tracks. He's scratching and everything for a handful of hours. Fucking awesome. And he's doing what he's doing to try to raise money. This may sound a little long-winded, but you should see the connection and where I'm going, which is basically, to my knowledge. And look, if they have, I'd like to know. So that's my challenge to you guys. And that way we can make sure that we're all on the same page and it can be promoted a lot. But I've barely to zero seen WWE. Hey, during this COVID-19 pandemic, this is what WWE is doing to try to help out with the relief efforts. I haven't seen anything like that from the WWE. And that is such a huge travesty. If there was ever a time where I would like to see WWE use their marketing, use their PR power, utilize their superstars, it would be now during this time. I mean, we've seen them do stuff with their Connor's Cure and everything like that, but if there was ever a time where I would like to see WWE, okay, we need to do some stuff. Where's the auctions right now where you can get a signed AJ Styles vest or get a signed Charlotte Flair robe, or get a Undertaker signed hat, or have lunch with Vince McMahon? Where are these auctions right now where X amount of money can be raised and it can basically go towards a COVID-19 relief fund? It can basically go towards helping particularly the healthcare workers, that there's many of them that still need those masks. You feel where I'm coming from? And it's really just when I take a step back and I look at everybody else that's doing something, and I don't really see WWE doing jack shit with regards to it. I'll tell you the one thing that WWE is doing that kind of makes you go, oh, well, what's this about? And you're like, okay, and how is this tied into COVID-19? Doesn't really seem like it is. Point being, WWE, they released this statement last week. They called it a impact report for 2019. And to summarize it, it's WWE giving back to the community. And basically, giving back to the community, it's always been a priority for the WWE since its inception. They're proud to share the first ever WWE Community Impact Report. And they basically hope that these stories lift the spirits and all that during these uncertain times and puts a smile to people's faces and everything. All right, so this is basically WWE patting their own selves on the back and saying, look at all of this cool stuff, that we did. And that's great. Really, that's great. But if there was ever a time where you can't have it both ways, is the point that I'm making. You can't have it both ways. You can't, on the one hand, say that whenever a tragedy has struck, and how WWE has been that beacon of everything that is hope, that is inspiration, that is, keep hope alive. You can't say that whenever there's been a tragedy, WWE has always been there to lift the spirits, blah, 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 blah. But then when it comes to, okay, so what efforts are you making to help out? And there's nothing. I mean, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we can't even get these guys to even admit on WWE programming. We can't even get these guys to say COVID-19. We can't even get these guys to say coronavirus. Think about that. Marinate on that for a bit. I'm speechless. I really am. I'm speechless. That's all I gotta say. I'm just speechless with that. So, for me, that's my biggest bone. Everybody's tripping over this whole Ronda Rousey thing, and it's like, no. Don't be triggered over that. You guys should know this by now. When it comes to Ronda Rousey, too. You guys should know a mile away when something seems like it's a storyline. I'm not going to rehash that whole stuff because we touched upon it last week, and I know she put out a new statement basically talking about pro wrestling, fake fighting, and that has people in an uproar, and it's like, you're biting into that? Really, you're biting into that. Never mind the fact that she did Corey Graves After the Bell podcast. Never mind that. Never mind now you're starting to see her in little WWE commercials. Now, never mind the fact that we saw her on this past seasons of, what was it? Total Divas, right? Wasn't she on that last season? Total Divas? Never mind the fact that there was a new WWE commercial tonight, kind of seeing as though it was a bit of an outreach commercial, basically, that WWE was promoting of their superstars and what they're doing in the communities and everything. And Ronda Rousey just happened to be a person that was there. Never mind the fact that Ronda Rousey has been name dropped for a couple of weeks now. For me, in my eyes, in my estimation, these are all signs that Ronda Rousey is going to be coming back to the WWE a lot sooner than later. And you all are biting the carrot of a story when it's all said and done. I really need you guys to take a step back and open your eyes and realize when you're being played. Now, if you don't mind being played, then more power to you. Go ahead and keep on biting. But you guys should be able to realize, wait a minute here. Something doesn't quite add up. You guys should realize when something's going on. Now, granted, I believe that some of the stuff that Ronda was saying, some of the stuff that Nia was saying, I believe there's truth. There's truth to it. I do. But you still gotta realize when you're being played. I can only imagine the DM messages, email, or texting that Ronda and Nia and a couple of other people had. Oh, girl, this is a good way to get them. All we gotta do is just say this. Oh, man, hook, line, sinker. We're gonna get them. Yeah, do that. Man, go real dirty. Won't you mention blah, 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 blah. Happens all the time. Happens all the freaking time. How many times have we seen a wrestler put something out there on social media that causes an uproar, upstorm, whatever you want to call it, and, we react off of the first thing that comes to our mind, and it turns out we all got played the entire time. The entire time we got played. So sometimes it's really good to just take a step back and, okay, I see this. I see what's going on. Just let the chips fall where it's going to fall. And then once you have the overall picture, this is no different than perfect scenario. I'll say this and we'll move on. Remember that time when it was first announced that Ronda Rousey had signed a contract with the WWE and she was going to be coming to the WWE real soon? And remember how all the women on the roster, they were being anti-Ronda Rousey and they were saying all kinds of shit. How dare this woman? Who's this bee that thinks she can come into our industry and blah, 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 blah. and you were seeing some of your favorite dirt sheets, you were listening to podcasts, checking out websites that were basically saying mutiny happening in WWE. Women's roster isn't happy about Ronda coming into the company, and blah 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 blah. And then turns out y'all got played. That's what they wanted you to think. For the simple fact, early on in Ronda's career, pretty much as soon as she signed with the company, essentially, you saw photos, you saw little videos and all kinds of stuff that was part of her 24 special and everything, that was showing these same women that were throwing her under the bus on social media. Who is this B? Who does this B think she is coming into our industry? Blah, blah, blah. Yakety smackety. And they were having a hand in training her, giving her so much praise and all this other shit. You gotta realize when you're being played, people. Straight up. You gotta realize when you're getting played. So don't be tripping over that. You're gonna be tripping over something. Don't be tripping over that. You're gonna be tripping over something. Don't be tripping over WWE being deemed an essential business. We know that's a bunch of bullshit. But because of who they know, people in high places, so they're kind of, well, not for nothing. We can just leave y'all to your own devices, and y'all will be able to figure out. Y'all grown ass men, women. It sucks that a couple of weeks ago, somebody that works for WWE got diagnosed with COVID-19. And if you remember checking out Wrestling with the Topics from a couple of weeks ago, I think at this point, maybe we did that episode about 3 weeks ago. Me and Tammy said on this very show, the question that was raised was, do you think at this point it's going to take a wrestler to get COVID-19 that may force WWE to shut down? And, we both kind of went back and forth about that. And, we kind of came close, but as far as we know, nobody's really saying anything. But apparently it wasn't a talent that had came down with COVID. Somebody else, not connected to the talents, basically, that came down with COVID-19. But just the fact that somebody did contract that coronavirus, you can't help but wonder, okay, WWE, what is it gonna take? What's it gonna take? Because next time it could be a talent. Then what? Then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna finally smarten up? And that's just what makes this whole thing so crazy. I really, really wish that WWE would just be giving us compilation stuff right now until all of this has died down drastically. But knock on wood, for each day, for each week that goes by, and luckily everybody's health is okay. Because once a talent is affected by this, my God, I can just imagine the amount of scrutiny that WWE is going to be under if a talent, a in-ring performer that is, gets this. I can just imagine how many people are going to be calling for WWE fucking shut down already. Fucking shut down. Whether or not they're going to do it, that remains to be seen. Because when it's all said and done, you got a stubborn old man whose song at this point is the show must go on. The show must go on. Speaking of the show must go on, I want to take this time out. Thank you guys for checking out tonight's show. I want to recognize some of our Patreon members. Remember, patreon.com/RCWR show. You can check out bonus audio and video content, great majority of which you won't be able to find anywhere else. Shout out to John Krauser, Sean Kenter, Justin Ripstock. I got to check up on these guys and see how they've been holding up. I know I tried to reach out to Sean a couple of days ago, maybe last week or the week before, And I gotta see how everybody's been holding up here. Also, shout out to Michael Wolf, John Davis. Shout out to my man Tony Bing Gaming, one of the very latest in all things Marvel Strike Force, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and Marvel Super War. Check out Tony Bing Gaming. He's got a great YouTube channel and a awesome Patreon paywall as well. Tony Bing Gaming. We're also brought to you in part by ChairShotTees.com. Check them out. Get yourself some awesome, cool merch from the likes of Terry Funk, Sabu, Axe and Smash, Demolition, The Road Warriors, and so much more. Officially licensed t-shirts at ChairShotTees.com. Check them out daily and weekly. They're always adding new stuff on there. I told you guys last week, until you hear Vince McMahon and Alpha Entertainment release a statement saying that the XFL was no more, don't believe everything that you see and hear. But my, what a difference a few days makes. Now, granted, we still do not have a statement by Vince McMahon and by Alpha Entertainment. However, what we do have now is official documents that shows the XFL has filed for Chapter 11. You heard me right. The XFL has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing both assets and liabilities in the range of $10 to $50 million. And there's also, and shout out to John Pollock, who was, as far as I know, really John Pollock and WrestleNomics. They did basically a 1-2 punch in documenting everything here. There's a great breakdown of the ownership, with WWE being listed in control of 23.5% of Class B shares, with the rest being held by Vince McMahon. Now, why am I going on and on about this? Because some people may be hearing this and may not care about the XFL or a couple other things. Remember when I had brought up last week a lawsuit reminder that was coming from this law firm that was reaching out to all of these people that basically were investing stock in WWE? And basically, when WWE was projecting stocks were gonna go for this, and it was the opposite, these people essentially were losing money, and as a result of it, all of these, call it whatever, individuals, proprietors, whatever you want to call them, they basically band together under this law firm to join a multi-class action lawsuit against the WWE. Remember that? Remember we talked about it on this show not that long ago. Pretty sure it was last week. See, shit like what we just touched upon could give validity to these people that are trying to come after the WWE and are hitting them with this class action lawsuit. Because stop and think for a second. You didn't have to be paying attention to XFL these past couple of weeks, but if you remember anything from the moment that the XFL was first launched, what was one of the main things that was being said about the XFL this second go around? One of the main questions that was being asked. Mr. McMahon, is the XFL this second go around gonna have any type of interactions or associations with WWE?
No, not at all. The XFL is by itself. This has nothing to do with the WWE. This is all through Alpha Entertainment and myself.
Okay, all right. And when we heard that, we're going, oh, okay, so nothing at all. And then some people took it a step further that were part of the press, and they were asking McMahon about the XFL. So, Mr. McMahon, any chance we're going to see wrestlers kind of similar to what happened with the XFL the last go around? Maybe some type of a crossover?
No, just straight up football. That's all we're gonna do. We're just gonna do straight up football. No crossovers whatsoever.
And how is the XFL going to be funded? Is WWE going to be funding the XFL at all?
No, XFL will not be funded. It's not associated with the WWE in any type of way. XFL is all through Alpha Entertainment.
And you're going, okay. All right, go back. Bing, Google search, best friend, you can look this up yourself. That was always what was said consistently. And yet, for this Chapter 11 bankruptcy, WWE is listed in control of 23.5% shares of the company, with the rest being held by Vince McMahon. Now, remember what I just told you, the breakdown as far as the top 8 creditors for the XFL? I actually have that for you. I can actually read that to you guys. We've got the St. Louis Sports Commission. That's followed up with Bexel NEP Integrated Solutions. Robert Stoops, who's an employee contract basically, as far as their claim. XOS, they have a contract. For services, XFL is getting help from Elevate Sports Partners. 47 brand, I believe, or number 7 brands for goods. Mark Trisman, employee contract. Ticketmaster, Blue Digital for services. So that's how you break all of that down. But the main gist, Vince McMahon, WWE. So there's some serious lying that is going on here when it's all said and done. Some significant, serious fucking lying. See, some of you guys, when we go over, stuff like finances and all that, I know sometimes it's a little bit boring and everything, but there's a reason why we go over shit like this. So again, remember what we talked about last week, that class action lawsuit. I am sure, and I'm telling you something, if I was a lawyer and I'm representing those people, I'm representing somebody from that class action lawsuit there, and if I am a news junkie and I find this information out, I am fucking going to obtain as much information as humanly possible, and I am going to give this to my partners, and we are going to try to get as much information as humanly possible. Let me tell you something, man. This could be ugly for the WWE. If there was ever to have concern for WWE, it's this. Because all throughout interviews and everything, this McMahon, all up and down, WWE has nothing to do. They're not funding this whatsoever. Nothing to do. This is strictly all on. Now, a statement still has not come out from Vince McMahon and Alpha Entertainment about what's going on with the XFL and its future and everything. Let me tell you something. And to Cord Brand, I don't know what part on the show you're on right now, but sadly we got done talking about Raw. God, I think for those that's been listening, because we've been on the air here for about over an hour, I'm pretty sure we got done talking about Raw at least 25 minutes ago. But that's the beautiful thing that I like particularly about YouTube, is if people join in live, they can, because I've checked the little box, I've enabled so you guys can rewind and you can go back to the beginning and everything. So if you want to get my thoughts about stuff like Andrade and all that other stuff, just rewind it back. So, but for now, we're talking headlines. XFL is one of the things that we were talking about. I'm really concerned here because go back, look at all of the interviews. And many times WWE has nothing to do with the XFL. And now we see this breakdown. How WWE is going to explain this contradiction here is beyond me. We're going to have to wait and see approach with that one. Now, let's deal with the other elephant in the room, which is Vince McMahon and Alpha Entertainment. They have yet to put a statement out saying that the XFL is no more. Now, understand something here, folks. When a Chapter 11, basically when you file for bankruptcy, understand what this is basically all about. This is basically, when it's all said and done, Vince McMahon, his Alpha Entertainment company, this is all about trying to recoup the X amount of money that they have lost. Now, for this XFL return, as far as what projections they were thinking, for all we know, maybe not only were they going to break even, but maybe they were going to see a little small gain, a little small, tiny little bit of profit. Remember what we had talked about not only last week, but pretty much when this pandemic had began. I said to you guys, remember the story I told you all about the guy that had 4 restaurants locally here in the DC metropolitan area, and how when the NBA and all the other sports had went, all of a sudden all his marbles was now on XFL, and he was hoping that XFL was, and remember how we broke everything down about the domino effect of the XFL and how it's not just about the players and the coaches. Remember, just go back to last week. I can't remember which show it was, but last week we broke it all down. It was like a little family tree that we did. Go back to that. But keeping that family tree in mind, now you understand what I'm saying when I was talking about how it has such a domino effect. All right, okay, so the way Vince McMahon did this is essentially the way anybody in America, you've been saving up money, you've invested in stocks, you're selling your stocks, did it the way anybody else would do it. And you're trying to start up your own business. You're trying to start up a new endeavor and everything. You take that money and, okay, I'm going to spend X amount of money on this new project because I'm trying to see this come to fruition. Okay, well, now that you funded that project, all right, you've spent all of that money. Now, how are you going to break even? Think movie terms, so I don't really lose you guys. Just think movies for a second. All right, I want to make this movie. Okay, what's it about? It's about blah 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 yakety smackety. Okay, and what's your budget gonna be? Damn, good question. $300 million. Okay, who's your cast? Well, my cast is going to be, okay, now out of that $300 million, you're telling us how much money it's going to take. So if we were to give you $300 million, you got to remember that $300 million, that's going to produce your movie. That's going to get you your cast. That's going to get you your writers. That's going to get you your directors. That's going to get you your producers. That's going to take care of your stunts. That's going to take care of your stunt performers. That's going to take care of catering. That's going to take care of test shot locations. That's going to be principal photography. All of that. Marketing. All of that. All of that. Public relations. All of that. Okay. Now that you've knocked all of that out, now comes the true test, which is, how does it do in the theaters? How does it do in the theaters in North America? How does it do outside of North America? what makes a good film is when you look at the budget and you see the total box office takeaway. If you break even, but the movie was praised, it was highly praised, the odds of you being able to do a sequel is pretty good. It's pretty good. However, if your budget, all right, if your budget is higher than the overall box office takeaway, then you did not break even. You brought in a little bit of money, but not enough to break even. And as a result, the odds of a sequel happening is zilch, nada. So when you look at the XFL, bringing it back home, when you look at the XFL, all the money that was spent to launch the XFL, okay, this is what was spent. This is what was spent to form this company. This is what was spent to take care of these players, take care of the officials, take care of blah, 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 yakety smackety. Okay, now how are we going to break even? Well, we got to be able to televise these games. Right. We got to have people that's going to come to these games. Right. We need concession. Yep, we sure do. We need alcohol. We need, yep, we sure do. So it's a domino effect. It's a big old domino effect. And sadly, when you introduce something like COVID-19, and it shakes down the very foundation of all sports in North America, and XFL starting off here again, trying to be born anew, essentially gets chopped, gets his ankles chopped as it's trying to take his first steps all over again. Yeah, then this type of shit, this is what happens. You file for bankruptcy because there's just no way that in its current form that it can continue to survive. You know, this is no different than what's going on with AMC theaters right now. AMC, they're talking about possibly filing for Chapter 11. How about that? I mean, all these years, I never thought in my wildest dreams that AMC would possibly have to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me on so many levels. So, understand this. When Chapter 11 bankruptcy goes down, it doesn't always mean that it's the end of a company. Sometimes you can have a new proprietor, a new person can step in and can basically say, okay, this looks pretty damn interesting. I think I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to buy this. You know, it's how much? Okay, well, I don't really have that much to lose. And I think that in about 5 years' time, I can make a profit. You know, think about when Jerry Jones had bought the Cowboys back in, 1989? Think about when he bought the Cowboys. Now, when you watch his football life, boy, did he get a raw deal. Did he get a raw deal? He looked like a fucking idiot. But with what he was able to do within 4 years after buying the Cowboys, fucking legendary. Fucking legendary. And you know, with him going into the Hall of Fame, by the way, some fun trivia for you guys. With him going into the Hall of Fame back in 2017, he became the 14th non-player to go into the Hall of Fame. Number 14. Think about that. Nice little fun trivia for you guys. So somebody could step in that thinks that, you know, this looks pretty pleasing to the eye. I think I might be able to do a little something with this. And XFL may be able to continue. I know there was a period there where Toys R Us, when they had originally filed Chapter 11, a lot of people couldn't believe what was going on and everything. And it was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And, you know, somebody had stepped in and, you know, they bought it and Now they're doing this whole retooling process and everything where eventually it's going to get relaunched again. But sometimes that's not always the case for some companies. I think Radio Shack is a very good example of that. Tower Records is another one. It doesn't always have a happy ending. I tell you this much, definitely does not look good when the XFL has even refunded people their money for the 2021 season. Apparently people were able to buy tickets for the 2021 season and they were refunded. They said you're going to get your money back in the coming days. So it doesn't exactly look good that you hear those things that's going to be going down, but it is what it is. Speaking of refunds and everything, make sure you guys are checking, you older folks out there, you younger cats, you're good. But for you older folks that's working and everything, like me and the missus, make sure you're paying attention to your bank account for the next couple of weeks, because I've heard from a few friends and colleagues today that these stimulus checks, if you have filed your taxes from 2018 or 2017, you have not changed your banking information, your stimulus check should be coming to your bank account. It could be there right now. Some people had actually got their money as early as Friday, definitely going into the weekend. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But some other little tidbits we can get into before we get ready to wrap it up. We've done about an hour 16 so far. We can go for a few more minutes, and then we'll pretty much put a bookend to the show for tonight. I did see the Broken Skull sessions with Ric Flair. I'm not going to get into that tonight because we're actually going to be doing a Wrestling with the Topics. I think we're going to be shooting for tomorrow, me and Tammy. I think we're going to be shooting for that tomorrow. So we'll talk a little bit more about it on there. And also Edge's 24 special. We're going to talk about the Edge special on that same episode as well. And meanwhile, let me see here. Bear with me a second here. Just kind of keeping track of the time here. Just trying to see what else we can get into before we get ready to wrap it up here. See. I don't really think... Just thinking what else we can get into tonight, because it's been kind of slow since we were last on the air. Some other stuff that I want to get into is non-WWE related, so I'm not really sure that would kind of fit this show right now. I tell you what, let me get into a couple of more plugs, and then that'll kind of get my brain going on a couple more things we can probably get into before we get ready to wrap it up here. Let me give a shout out to some of our sponsors. Want to give a shout out to the good folks behind CarEyes.com. That's CarEyez as in zebra, CarEyes.com. Make sure you check them out. They are providing a cool and fun way for you to buy cars online and sell cars online. Check them out when you guys get a chance. And other than that, no other sponsors we need to... actually, you know what? I almost forgot about my man. Can't believe I almost forgot about my man. Screaming Bulls. Check him out. Screaming Bulls on Twitter. You can check him out at Screaming Bulls I1, or just type in Screaming Bulls 1. Phenomenal artist. Makes really cool wrestling busts. He is a ECW enthusiast, because a lot of the busts that he makes are ECW originals. However, he does take special requests. So check him out. It's a phenomenal sculptor. Makes everything from freaking scratch. Love that guy tremendously. He's fucking badass. See. Yeah, I'm just looking at some more wrestling little headlines that we got here. And honestly, the rest of my stuff is non-WWE related. And I really like having all of that be on the Wednesday show, since we go a little bit more all over the place and everything. I can tell you this much. Charlotte Flair, she's been announced for this week's NXT. This is going to be her first appearance as the NXT Women's Champion. So that should be a really good episode. And yes, I have finally set my DVR. So I will be checking out Wednesday's NXT and AEW Dynamite. I have sadly missed the past couple of weeks worth of shows. And I think at this point I've missed about 2 weeks worth of shows. And that's bummed me out tremendously because I was missing some really, really good shit. One thing I will say, and I'm kind of glad that we're actually still on the air, if you guys did not get a chance to check it out, I highly recommend you go out of your way and check out the Jim Cornette podcast that was dropped right before the weekend. Jim Cornette, man to his word, him and Brian Last, they sat down with Kevin Sullivan. And if you guys had watched the season premiere of Dark Side of the Ring on the Benoit tragedy, you know that Kevin Sullivan, he was nowhere on that episode, and there was just this blanket statement that you could read on the screen that essentially said Kevin Sullivan declined to be part of the episode. But when you listen to Kevin Sullivan on Jim Cornette's podcast, I mean, I was pretty dumbfounded. I really was, because I like the guys behind Dark Side of the Ring, Jason Eisner and Evan Houston. I think they do a phenomenal job. I do. But listening to the Jim Cornette podcast from this past weekend, it really had me, it gave me I gotta say, I was a little bit sour, because it was the first time that I had even negatively looked at the producers for Dark Side of the Ring in a bad light. And, you know, normally I'm giving them a lot of praise and everything, but there was so much to take in from that Kevin Sullivan interview. You just couldn't help but go, man, how did the producers for Darkseid just glance over this? One of the things that was glanced over that Kevin brought up was the fact that there was some incident that had involved him and Nancy, and there was a police report because she had assaulted him, and there was a police report, and you're going, whoa, so why wasn't this brought up? Another thing that was just kind of not even addressed was the fact that, you know, Kevin Sullivan, if I remember it right, and I'm not defending him or in any type of way, my whole thing is, and you know this about me from over the years, covering your 5 W's. I say that constantly on the show. As long as you have your 5 W's covered, you're always going to be bulletproof. Who, what, when, where, why. You're always going to be bulletproof. Some of Sandra's timelines was way off because Brian, Jim Cornette, you know how good of an encyclopedia mind Cornette has. But for whatever little gaps he may on rare occasions not recall, Brian Last does a phenomenal job beforehand in doing the research, and I mean the guy is good. He's got Jim's back. But some of Sandra's timeline was a bit off. Sandra, Nancy's sister, especially with what all had went down at Bash at the beach with the fight between Sullivan, Benoit, Sullivan shedding a lot of light on, you know, shoot fighting and all that. And basically, what was the biggest thing happening at that point was the Mike Tyson fight. Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, the biting of the ear and everything. And Kevin thinking it would be really fucking badass if they could somehow kind of incorporate that into their matchup. You're going, huh? Oh, okay. And There was a lot that, according to Sullivan, Sandra was in the dark about, particularly on purpose, because she wasn't really one of the boys and everything. So you got that a little bit of an equation in there. And then ultimately, the number one thing that really spoke volumes to me was the fact that Kevin did not do that episode. And see, the response that he gave to Cornette, I know I was among the first to ask Evan Husney, hey, what's going on? How come Kevin Sullivan wasn't on this episode? What was going on? And as you guys heard from the interview, he gave a little bit of a blanket response. I am, if I were a betting man, I would like to believe that he honestly was not prepared for a mom and pop podcast such as mine that was gonna ask that question. And so he really wasn't quite equipped to give me an answer that he really wished he could give. Because that's the thing, sadly, and that's probably going to be the last time that I interview the guys from Dark Side of the Ring, because, all due respect to Evan, who's a phenomenal producer, but he's admitted to me in the 2 separate interviews I've done with him that, there was a part of him that fell out of love with pro wrestling, so there was a big block of wrestling that he missed, and I can kind of tell that he's not really a eat, sleep, hardcore wrestling fan like that. And so you can only go but so far with him on some topics, is the point that I'm making. Put it to you this way. Unless you're going all in encyclopedia on, whatever shows he's producing for Dark Side, unless you're going all over the place with that and just talk that, which is where he is most strongest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want something outside of it, that's where there's a few kinks in the armor. Whereas the Jason guy, from what I've been able to gather, the Jason guy is a bit more, he's another producer of the show. He's more well-rounded, relatively connected with everything that's been happening over the years. You would probably have more of a rapport with him than as you would with Evan. And I'm not saying anything negative. I'm sure Evan would admit to that himself as well. I know I would if I was limited in some areas of expertise. I would definitely admit that, so that if I was being interviewed by somebody, they would know what to bring up and kind of what not to bring up. But then the other thing, when you get these guys and you're interviewing them, you're not really interviewing them. Sadly, I can't go Lee Sanders' RCWR show full commando, because with those type of guys from that show, you've got the representative for the network that's listening on the other line, and if there's something that they don't like, they're jumping in and they're telling you, let's take that out and let's say this instead. And so it's not really, you got to really be PR, is the point that I'm making. You really got to be PR, public relations friendly, when you're doing stuff like that. But I tell you what, man, for Jim Cornette and Brian Last and the great job that they did in conducting the interview with Kevin Sullivan, they did not hold back in any type of way. They did a phenomenal job, in my personal opinion, and I'm not sucking their dicks in any type of way. You guys know me. I love a good interview where nothing is held back, where I don't go, well, wait a minute, why didn't you bring this up? You asked this question, but they gave this answer and you didn't follow up. And normally you get fluff interviews where someone is just trying to be footsie and all that because they want to get that next interview, the next go round and everything. But Brian and Cornette did a really good job in all the questions that we had on our mind about, Sullivan, what the fuck. They went there. There were definitely moments where it seemed a bit uncomfortable, but they went there and you felt as a listener, and when you walked away from it, you felt as though, you know what? I don't have any questions. They did their part. This was great. No stone was left unturned. You know, that is for any aspiring podcaster, I would have to say, you know, listen to that and, you know, making sure that you got, it's not about trying to get somebody in a gotcha moment or anything like that, but trying to do your part in, and this is another thing I liked about the way they conducted that interview, that it tends to be a lost art form, I think. And whenever I get the opportunity to interview people, I like to look more at interviewing somebody as a conversation. And first and foremost, the way that Brian and Cornette were sitting down talking to Sullivan felt like you were listening in on a conversation as opposed to an interview. And once you have it like that, I mean, you can pretty much go all over the place when you have a person that's that comfortable, where it's not, you know, question interview, silent, no interaction, no playing off of the responses and all of that. And so for an aspiring podcaster, you definitely, I would say, you learn a lot when you hear the way that they conduct themselves, and that there is a way for you to get right down to the bottom of, you know, that one burning question that you have that's lingering, and you're able to get it answered, all just based off of the way, you know, you present yourself and you present it to that person to answer and everything. So, but check it out when you guys get a chance. Very seldom do I put over one, other podcast, and then two, an interview. Very, very seldom that I do that, but there you are. Take advantage of that. Check that out when you guys get a chance. And other than that, I'm going to say that's it. I mean, you know, we should have been done about 15 minutes ago, but at this point, you guys had got a 90-minute show. I'm going to say we'll stick a fork in it and we'll call it DONE done. There's a loads more topics that we can get into, but sadly, again, a lot of the topics that I do have, these are topics that honestly we could get into on the Wednesday show, since it's going a little bit all over the place. One thing that I will leave you guys with, aside from the Jim Cornette thing, I am aware for you gamers out there that WWE 2K21 is apparently being canceled. And if you had missed that, then this is news to you. But former WWE video gamer writer Justin Leeper, he first reported on Twitter that WWE 2K21 has been canceled, which is why the game was not announced around WrestleMania, as you all know, because that's pretty much been a tradition as far as the next release date for the 2K game. And then usually around this time going into late May, you start to hear about the game features, the roster reveal. You hear about what's available for the limited edition box sets and all of that, but nothing. And as you guys know, 2K20 was bombed big time, not just by gamers, but by critics as well. So the plan remains to release WWE 2K22 sometime in 2021. But Leeper is noting that the game is not expected to be on the next gen consoles and will be for PS4, Xbox One, and most likely PC. Leeper also notes that 2K will now be publishing a different kind of WWE video game later this year from a different developer. He added that back in December, there was a 50% chance that the game was canceled, but then popped up in January. Seemed as if 2K21 was moving ahead and would be more or less the same as 2K20. Now it looks like with regards to 2K21, that's just being axed altogether. He said on Twitter, and I quote, "I'm not a fan of bringing bad news, but it's post-WrestleMania, and I think fans deserve to know. I've heard on good authority that WWE 2K21 has been canceled. However, another WWE branded game will enter the ring this year. I don't enjoy being negative. I'm good at it. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy delivering bad news. For every 50 positive responses, there's one acting like I killed their dog. But people need to know Ukes was fired. 2K20 was based on 2K18. 2K21 is not coming out. If I gotta be the one. And that's pretty much where we are right now. And Justin Lieber, if you guys recall, this is somebody that I had touched upon last year because he was going over different things that was happening behind the scenes with 2K20 and everything. But and he's got a great YouTube channel. I mean, when he does decide to talk WWE 2K, it is somebody that for many years had his hand in working with it and everything. But yeah, to recap, he heard on good authority 2K21 that it has been canceled. So you all know the problems that the 2K series has been having, particularly since Ukes has left. And, you know, that WWE 2K20 game was rough. That was a rough game. I remember when I did a live Twitch stream and I was showing off the roster and I was showing a little bit of gameplay and everything. And I think I probably played that game maybe 2 more times. And after that, I was done with that game. You know, for me, and I think I know I said it to my girl, but I'm pretty sure I also had said it on the show. I said I've played some bad games in my day, but that last WWE 2K game, that made me fall out of love. If there was any part of me that was still loyal to the 2K series for WWE with how they conducted themselves with WWE 2K20, that just made me say, I'm done. I'm done. I will stick to WWE Supercard. I will stick to whatever. I will stick to whatever else I can find, but I'm pretty much done with that. Jared, I remember you from the other day when we were doing the show. All due respect, and I appreciate it, but with regards to joining Facebook groups and all that, I'm really not good with Facebook groups. I got to be honest. I'm really not good with Facebook groups. I'm barely on social media as it is, unless it's to promote the shows, special guests that might be coming on the shows or whatever. You know, I'm really not that good with Facebook groups and all that. The only Facebook group that I am invested in right now is my closed Facebook group for my wedding. Hey Gino, what's up with you, man? Appreciate the super chat. That's the only thing that I'm interested in is my closed Facebook private group for me and the missus' wedding, and trying to, you know, get that rocking and rolling again. Because we were supposed to do it in May, but with COVID-19, as so is everybody. I'm sure anybody that's been checking out the news, yeah, I love that sound effect. Anybody that's been checking out the news, y'all know that, you know, weddings have been postponed left and right. Matter of fact, we were talking to a couple of people over the past couple of days. One of the people that we spoke with was Tam's maid of honor. And then we talked to Mom, so my future mother-in-law. Somebody else we had spoke to, can't remember who it was. I know I spoke to Mish, and, you know, everybody's like, yeah, October or next year, that's the best way to go, you know, because assuming that this is going to be squashed relatively soon. But then even at that, like I told the missus, I said, really, we should just go for next year. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a significant spike in ratings for weddings, that is. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a significant spike for weddings for next year. Because if you stop and think about it, let's say that the government, Trump and them, let's just say they decide, you know what, come what is this, April? Let's say they decide, hey, July, August, we're going to open everything back up, back to business as normal. To ask people to turn right around like less than 2 months later to come to a wedding, and people are still trying to get into the groove of things, especially from a financial standpoint, that's asking a lot. And then the holidays are right around the corner as well. You know what I'm saying? So that's fucking crazy. So it makes more sense to just, okay, let's just write out the rest of this year and let's just go right for 2021. You know, and Gino, I feel you, man. Trust me. I feel where you're coming from. Gino's talking about how he's been out of work because of the coronavirus, but at least he's still getting paid. Yeah, I mean, at least you're still getting the option. I mean, sadly, there's people that's not even getting the option. You know, sadly, they either had to file for unemployment, or, you know, they're joining the essential workforce out there. You know, be that they're delivering food, you know, as a driver, or they're working in, you know, the grocery industry. And let me tell you something. You know, if you have a healthy immune system, you don't have any health complications or nothing, and you're willing to, you know, you want to make some money, and you don't like being on the sidelines, you're not trying to collect the unemployment check. Let me tell you something, being a driver, working grocery, you know, those, I would highly recommend you guys check that out, especially right now, all the precautions that's being taken for the grocery industry. I mean, my God, I mean, we've gotten to that point now. You guys got TVs, you guys got radios and all that. You know what the deal is. You can't even walk into a grocery store unless you're wearing a mask. You will be denied entry if you don't wear your mask. So you can't be playing around with that shit. But I mean, there's plenty of money to be made. It's just a question of, you know, are you willing to, you know, take the risk and everything? And I am not. You ain't gonna find me bashing anybody that is not gonna take that risk, because that's a huge risk, especially to, you know, come home and you have older family members that live with you. You know, maybe you have a young child. I respect anybody that doesn't want to put those people in that type of a position, or yourself for that matter. But if you know what's going on and your health is okay, and, you know, some of these companies, let's be honest, you know, we know it's troubling times right now and we're here to help. You're like, okay, you call some of these people up. Okay, so what are you guys willing to do? Oh, we're just going to waive the late fee. Okay, and that's your definition of helping somebody during this pandemic. Your definition of helping somebody is just waiving off a late fee. You know, what about, like, you know, don't worry about payment for this month, or no, we can't do that. It's like, okay, so then you're not really helping people. Like, despite all of this craziness that's going on, bills still have to be paid. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And sadly, for some households, you know, you got to do what you got to do in order to keep the lights on. You know, that's why I always tell you guys, especially those of you that are able to do super chats, or those of you that continue to be Patreon members. That's why I always tell you guys, I love you guys tremendously, respect you guys. You know, because you could be doing anything else with your money, and just the fact that you know, continue to support the shows and all that, it means a lot. You guys have no fucking idea. And when I say I respect you guys, love you guys tremendously, I sincerely do mean that. I sincerely do. And yeah, it's crazy right now. I don't know what's going on with NBA 2K. Sadly, I lost interest in 2K many years ago. So, you know, the news that I was talking about earlier was specifically for WWE 2K. To the point, when it comes to video games, I'm not that much of a gamer as I used to be. in the previous years. Nowadays, I'm either playing WWE Supercard on the tablet, or I'm reading a book on the tablet. When I do fire up the game console, which is Xbox, I'm either playing the Division 2, or I am playing Skyrim because I didn't finish all of that completely, or I'm playing Fallout. What was the last? Not the new Fallout game that's running around right now. I guess the one I was playing before that. Maybe it was Fallout 76. I've lost track after a while. But the real good one, the one that didn't get no complaints. That's the one I'm playing. But even at that, those are rare. Nowadays it's either reading a book, watching stuff on TV, catching up on some drawing, or catching up on some painting. Which, by the way, I gotta check in on Freddie and see how Freddie has been doing, because Freddie's a sweetheart. Freddie, he knows what's been going on with me behind the scenes, and just when I'm like ready to fucking sit down and do the painting, I had a couple of hiccups, but now things are finally getting normal again in the fucking household, and I can finally kick back and focus on his painting. So I gotta do some work this morning for the first job. Luckily, I get to do that remotely from home for a couple of hours. And then afterwards, I get to dedicate the rest of my time to kicking back, doing some painting. True story. What's been holding me up all this time? Glue sticks. Oh, I bought a glue gun. I bought glue sticks. I was trying to do Rambling Rabbit. And when I was finally ready to do Rambling Rabbit, I couldn't find the glue sticks. They were somewhere buried in this fucking house, and it took Tams to find out where the hell the glue sticks were. I said, she has been doing some spring cleaning. I say to her, "Oh my God, you found the glue sticks. Where'd you find them?" She's like, "Take a guess. Were they on the sofa?" "Yep." I was like, "God damn it!" And I checked the sofa. She's like, "Nah, you didn't check hard enough." So, I'm finally gonna be able to work on Rambling Rabbit. I didn't want to do anything else but Rambling Rabbit. I don't know why. I was just so fixated on, if it ain't Rambling Rabbit, I don't want to do nothing else. So now I found the glue sticks, thanks to my girl, and now I get to work on Rambling Rabbit. So I'm fucking happy. So my goal right now is, because Freddie's been a very patient guy, and I love him tremendously. So I'm going to try to do my best to get his painting wrapped up before the month is out, now that I found everything. And I'll probably share some pictures throughout social media and on YouTube, let you guys know how it's looking and everything. All right, so real quick, Tuesday there is going to be an episode of Wrestling with the Topics. We're going to do that on YouTube for you guys, so stay tuned for that. Don't ask me for a time frame. I'm not going to put a time out there. As long as you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, you got the bell notification on, you clicked on all notifications, you'll know when me and her, Tammy that is, you'll know when we're going live for you guys. But we are going to be on sometime Tuesday. I'm not seeing Tuesday evening, like late evening. I think we're probably going to be on sometime late afternoon. So when I say late afternoon, I'm thinking maybe somewhere between 3 to 5. Maybe we'll be on. That's probably what I'm thinking. And then Wednesday we got a new RCWR show that'll be on after NXT and AEW goes off the air. Now remember, with my new schedule, and I'm actually looking at my schedule for this week because sometimes it can be a little bit rotating. So let me just look at my schedule for this week here. Okay, so I'm going to say for Wednesday, worst case scenario, Wednesday, we're going to be on at 10:30. Again, we're going to be on at 10:30. So not immediately after those shows go off the air, but we'll be on at 10:30. And it's not going to be a long show. I'm still going to try to do about 90 minutes solid, try to be off the air before or by midnight. And then we'll pretty much be good to go and everything. Have I checked out Leo Rush's music or Shane Strickland, aka Isaiah Scott's music? I've heard a little bit of Leo Rush's. I haven't really dived deep into his catalog, but I did hear a couple of singles that had me bobbing my head, and I thought, all right, this guy's pretty good. He's got fucking good chops. I like him and his execution better than R-Truth. Just based off of the stuff that I've heard, he definitely got some skills. I got to give him that. Isaiah Scott, I haven't heard him yet. I can definitely check him out in the next couple of days, and then when we come back to the Wednesday show, we can revisit it, and I can let you know what I think about his joint then. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the programming. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna shut this down because the last thing I want to do is be rambling. I hate when I ramble. So we'll wrap it up for now. And I'm going to say be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads. If you're waiting for the audio version of this, I will actually have this be available later this afternoon for you guys. Okay, again, later this afternoon, I'll have the audio version be available. Thanks for supporting the show, be it live, but especially for those of you that check out the show on demand and on the downloads. Love you guys tremendously. Till next go round, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. And please stay the fuck at home. Please stay the fuck at home. Really means a lot. Much love, guys. Next go round. Peace.